Hello and welcome to Dell's Gaming. I'm Dell and this is Kerbal Space Program, where our Kerbonauts are enjoying another lovely day in the Kerbal Space Center, wondering what great plans I'm going to come up with today to try and kill them. I've succeeded once, unfortunately, or failed once, depending on how you want to look at it. But anyway, now the good part, since our last one, I have done some work on the science, and I'm up to 188 science, which is excellent. But we've lost a lot of money because it costs fuel. Now, what we found, if we go into the research centre, if the science archives, you can see in Kerbin, I found quite a few biomes here. Highlands and shores. Now, what's now come up is there's now 112 hidden, which I have no idea why there is 112 highlands hidden. Now I don't know whether that means on these other areas or not. I'm not sure. But when I do landed, I've now got six. I've got 6. It says 72 hidden. Now I don't know whether I can get more reports elsewhere, or it just seems like there's a lot missing. So I'll have to look into this. It's something that's an ongoing search, possibly, of Kerbin for more science. But what can be seen is some of the areas I did manage to get, which are a little bit more difficult than the others, is ice caps, which are obviously at the 2 poles, the tundra, which is the land right next to the ice caps, and the badlands, which again has got 73 hidden, which yeah, and I've done as much as I can at each of those areas. As I said, I don't know whether these other 73 are, but obviously I got the major parts. So we've got some good science there. Just to show you, if we go to the tracking station, those areas, obviously the poles, North and South Pole, what you've got is the actual white area. Most of it, sometimes it comes up as shores or water, but most of the time that is ice caps, or classed as ice caps. Now the land just close to it, normally around the edge here, land which is close to the white, and maybe sometimes in this case next to the white area as well, is classed as tundra. Same on the North Pole as well. Most of the white is caps, and the green area next to it is generally tundra. Badlands. Now Badlands, from where we are, is basically, if you go around to this lovely place here, which we've got the lights from at the moment, just the other side of this mountain range, just in the center of the screen now, just to the west of there, the east of there, is an area which it generally, there's lots of little places in there that it classes as badlands. There's also a little place just to the southwest of those mountains as well, but this was the area I mainly went to. So it's quite a long flight. It's almost like the opposite side. But my science vehicle was able to get round there and it wouldn't have got back. It's not a circumnavigating ship, but it did manage to get there. So that's good. That got there. One thing I did have to revisit, I didn't realise at first that if you do an EVA report from your command capsule, generally that EVA report is classed as flying low over the target and not on the surface. So you do have to actually climb out of your vehicle and then jump up back along the wheels to get back into your craft. So that's one thing to remember. You do have to be able to do your little jumping on and off your vehicle to ensure you get the maximum science. Now what we got next is we are a bit low on funds. So we've got a couple of possibilities of some extra activities to get some money in. We can also spend these science points at the same time. Now active, we've got a couple. We've got this Sydney one, which is basically a couple of points not far from here where we'll need a surface plane to go land and pick up. But it's in the mountains. They're a bit of a pain to get to. And it's worth 50,000, which isn't bad. we've got some science data in an orbit worth 17. Most of our passenger ones, we need to do some testing before we do a big test. Most of our Kerbin flights, there's a few orbits around Kerbin. There's one there, there's 2 orbits of Kerbin. 3. Is there another one? This orbit of Kerbin? Orbit of Kerbin. There's another one. There's 4. And he's also got a suborbital. Now it's possible we could. Now I was hoping to get all of these done in one, because if we on their takeoff they'll go suborbital, then they go orbit, and then they'll do the flyby minimus. So some of these I was going to do all at the same time and not try and do it as a separate specific job, now that we can work out where all of these various areas are required. Now this is an interesting one, which is the rendezvous 2 vessels in orbit of Kerbin, and I'm quite interested in doing this one. This is, we've got to launch 2 vessels and then rendezvous them together as close as possible. They don't have to be big vessels. Now we can also at the same time do get this science data from around Kerbin, so we can do 2 missions in one. So we can send. We can also test out our the landing for the multi-person vehicle. So if we go and have a look at the R&D and see what we have, we can spend our 188 on. So first of all, flight control. The inline reaction wheel could be very useful actually, but let's see, we've got this part which is there, landing. We need this heat shield. Now one thing we need, this is there, so we actually need this landing to ensure that our pod will get back in and will land again, as well as the XL parachute, I'm thinking. They're both. So I think that one's going to be needed. Let's just check. We've got 140 points. The other bit is we're going to need to make sure we have a. We don't need a docking port yet, so I'm going to stay off of that one. Let's see, rockets. The other side was rocketry, just to get some better engines, but we don't need it on this particular journey. But it would be worth looking at. The fuel tanks. Yeah, they're useful, but we can manage with the fuel tanks we have. Right, so let's see what we can do. So first of all, I think we definitely need this one here, because we need this 2.5 meter heat shield to ensure that the passenger pod is going to come back. Right, flight control. I'm liking this. I'm going to go for this reaction wheel, mainly because that, especially on this rendezvous, that's going to allow us to rendezvous these aircraft a lot easier. So I'm going to go for that as well. So that's used all our points up that we can buy things with. Excellent. And now we go and do some building of ships. Now we're going to build. We're possibly going to use. First of all, we will send up one quick ship, unless we use one of our existing orbiters. We'll send someone up with a science lab. So where are we? We'll just use a K2, one of our K2 launches. Which one was successful? I should really get rid of the ones which were not successful. Is this a successful orbiter? Or is that one that had to get changed? That doesn't seem like that is going to be a valid one. So we'll go through. Where's the K2 3? Version 3. There we go. So let's just always go with the largest one. There we go. So now we're going to make one change to this. Now we have that inline wheels. Whoops. Let's take there. We're going to put the, if I can find it, we're going to put the inline reaction wheel in here somewhere. Let's see where we're going to put this then. Up on the top here. Looks like a suitable place. That will give us more control of that unit in space. The other area, we've got no actual engine on that. Okay, that's fine. What's our engine on here? We have a Terrier, and we haven't upgraded our engines, so that Terrier would be fine. So what have we got here? First two stages, let's just make sure everything is okay. First two stages, yes. Deploy them, yeah. Second stage, decouple and, oh no, we've got an engine missing here somewhere. That one there needs to be down here. And when that deploys, no, let's make sure I've got the right engine here. Okay, there we go. That deploys, and then that engine is on. Except I'm going to separate the deploying and the engine. Okay, I'll make sure I'm getting a little, these deployments are not right. There we go, that deployment there, that engine there. Okay, so got to make sure this is all correct. So let's start at the top. Parachutes, always useful to have parachutes, and they're working. Next we have the this here, and after we've used the thruster that puts us into orbit, that's fine. And now we have this and the parachutes down the bottom, I think that will be. Yes, so that's our launch stage there done. And then here, when they are full, yes, and that's our initial thrust. Yes, okay, so that is correct. We're going to save that as our launcher 3. It's got the science lab on there, because what we're going to do while we're up there is do a little science. So that will be fine. So let's get someone launched up in here. Oops, let's just see, did that make a change? No, that's fine. Let's put someone in here. So who are we going to put into here? We don't want Bill. This actually has got a probe, so we could put someone up who may be the scientist. Let's put the scientist up there, because he's a scientist. He could do some sciencey stuff. So we're putting the science up in there. So let's go for a launch of K2. Our K2 launch 3. I'm going to give this a this is going to be called the RDV, because I'm not going to save it. This is the RDV. It's just for the launch of the vehicle. So for rendezvous. So we're going to do some science when we're up there, but then we're going to put it into a stable-ish orbit, as close as we can. We'll have it as a slowish orbit, say around 100k is going to be ideal. Okay, so first things we do, we check to make sure everything has stayed stable here. Yes, that all looks okay. Right, throttle at maximum, stabilization on. We want our orbital, we want to go to orbit. We're going to follow our basic system, which is going to be a orbit out to 100k, sorry, go up to 5, slight inclination at launch, 5k go to around a 5 degree, 10k go to 10 degree, 20k go to 45 degree, assuming I catch them, and don't let the speed get too high. Okay, that's our basic premise for this. Are we ready, Bob? Are you ready, Bob? Yeah, you're ready. 3, 2, 1. So a slight inclination there. It's only a couple of degree or so, not much at all, just to give us a slight turn. 1000k. Liquid fuel is going on these first two stages quite nicely. Coming up to the 5k mark, our speed is just coming up on the 300, so I'm pulling back on the speed. At the moment on this first stage, 6,000, going over to my 5, I missed that a little slow there. Onto the 5k, coming up to the 10k, okay, pushing over onto the 10-degree mark, and that's the stage done. Going full throttle on the next stage, coming up to our 20k, 45 degrees, 18, 19, okay, heading towards the 45-degree marker line, which is just there. Okay, now we're going to hold this until we're at our required altitude, which will be around about 100k. So we're going to check to make sure our apoapsis stays around the 100k mark would be ideal. Let's just get back onto the equatorial orbit as much as we can. Cool, that's good. We seem to be alright. Right, we're at 50k. Liquid fuel is fine. 58k. 60. Once we get to 100k, I will release this stage and we'll use everything which is in the other units. So that's 80k, 81, 4, close to it. There we go. Launching that stage. Right, we're now going to head towards the apoapsis to do our burn, which should be fairly quick. I'm not going to worry about doing a maneuver node on this, because I think we can do this without a maneuver node. Although actually it's worth doing it just to be on the safe side. So just before the apoapsis, add a maneuver node. We want to put it there so that it just starts to change. So we can see our apoapsis changes at the same time. There we go. So our apoapsis went there. So our apoapsis 109 and our periapsis 79. No, I don't like that. Let's go this way a little bit more. Apoapsis 128. It was just a little bit away from our current AP. There we go. That's better. 109, 79, a little bit more. 111, 83, 88, 117. Okay, that's good enough for the moment. We will use that as a basis. Okay, we're just turning in on this here. So we've got a estimated burn 1 minute. Okay, so that's going to be way out, but 18 seconds. Let's start our burn. So we are going to need a bit more burn than expected. So I'm going to head a little bit into down to keep our apoapsis from going too high on this. Fuel is okay. To obviously also make sure we have enough fuel to get us back, but this is obviously our main burn. Shouldn't need much just to bring us back into orbit. I don't think we're going to make this. This is not taking a lot more fuel than expected. Yeah, stopped. We're going to have to abort this. There is not enough fuel there to put me into a suitable orbit. At this moment, we are not going to get into that orbit as required. So we're going to have to go for an abortive landing. That's annoying. That's very annoying. Okay, well, let's just retrograde our burn and just get down to planet with what remains of our fuel. So okay, I've either got to have a bit more fuel in here to do that. There we go, that's our apparatus. This is fine. Let's get rid of that section. Which is a bit annoying. That was not, I obviously need to use that last bit of fuel in that final stage. That's what I did not do. Well, no, we'll leave SAS on. Okay, so aborted orbit. This particular vehicle, it does not do what I thought it would do, quite simply. So let's just speed up time and get landed. So I'll do a time lapse up to our landing point. Right, so that's our little EVA there completed. Sorry, our little flight there, aborted flight, unfortunately. I did EVA just at the end to get a little bit of science, because why not? So now we're going to go back and recover some of the debris, and we'll work on this orbiter. So we needed, I would say, about 50% more fuel, potentially, or more from the that final stage, or use the fuel in that stage. So let's see. Two things we can do is, one, we can increase this speed. Instead of putting a 200, what if we put a 400 in there? A 400. Whoops. There we go. Put that 400 in instead. Take that up. And because we've put the fuel in there, we had excess fuel in this section. So what if we take off one of the fuel units off here and replace that with a 200 instead? There we go. So more fuel in the final stage. Basically, let's make sure all the staging's correct. The other thing we haven't put in here is the barometer. We've got some new science items. Science. We have more science. We've got these barometric pressure readings, which we haven't done from space and various orbital items. So let's try putting them in, because the more, the merrier. With our science, science engineer, we should get quite good science out of it. Okay, so let's just check to make sure everything is okay there, and as expected on our launching, yes, that's okay. Then parachutes and them, yes. Then parachutes and that, yes. Then the final stage. So we've got 5,000 fuel. Now we know that 4.5 should get us in. I'm a little. Actually, in fact, now that I'm thinking about it, because we've got a heavier section there, we might need to put this fuel back on. I'd rather have the fuel there and not need it than not have enough fuel for this, because it's quite a heavy section, this. If we go and have a check, this Science Junior, if we look, doesn't say the actual weight of it actually. We'd have to work it out and compare it to the passenger module. Where is that passenger module? We need to find it. We've got it in here somewhere, compared to this passenger crew capacity module here, which we need to look at in our other vehicle. So let's get this one launched up now and see if that's enough. Let's see which crew we've got. We've still got Bob. We've still got Bob. Okay, Bob, launch 2 for you. We know now we need a little bit more fuel for you to enable you to get up into space. So launch number 2 for our RDV Mark II. Right, everything staging still okay? Yes, everything is okay. You ready then, Bob? You okay there? Yeah, you ready? Okie dokie then, Bob. We're sending you up. 3, 2, 1, go. We haven't put full maximum throttle on. SAS on. We didn't do our checks. We were so worried about looking at you, Bob. I did not do all of my necessary checks. Bad of me. Right, let's try and keep as close as we can to this equatorial orbit. Right, everything is okay. Speed is good. Bringing down the speed, ready in preparation for the 300. Putting us into orbital mode. Going fast with 5,000, going to the 10 degree, trying to line us up again with the equator. Try and keep us in there if I can. 10,000, going for the next section. 10 degree burn. Releasing that section, going full throttle. Heading towards 20,000. Okay, a little wobbly there, but we're heading correctly out. Full power. Oh, there was a little bit of a jutter there. That was interesting. Certainly not expected. Let's see if we can get, where are we? 20,000, going to the 45 degree mark. Now it's just keep an eye on our apoapsis. Now hopefully we will use as much as we can of this particular fuel system, and if we've got any left, I will bring my inclination down once we're getting close to use as much of this fuel as I possibly can before we go to the next level. So we're heading on it, so I'm going to start heading below. We've still got plenty of fuel left, so let's see if we can start getting the periapsis up a little bit without taking the apoapsis up too high. So I'm just giving it right slight there just to get this up, so our apoapsis is near the right figure. So now if I head almost through the horizon, using this is not necessarily the most efficient use, but it will use as much of this fuel as possible. It's to be easier to retrograde the other burn. Right, that's now gone. Cool. Right, now we can worry about getting our periapsis sorted on this apoapsis. So let's sort out this burn here. So we're going to do it on the here maneuver node on the apoapsis. Burn this way, just until they start to swap. There. Okay, what's our apoapsis there? 123. If I do it a little bit, see if we can change that a little bit there. 119. Okay, what's our periapsis going to be at that point? 115. Okay, that's a good burn. 119, 115, that's quite good. No problem with that whatsoever. Let's have a look, see how much of a burn that is. 600 meters a second. Right, well, we're going to have to hope what fuel we've got. I think we've got enough fuel in this stage now this time. I'm hoping, although it's heavier because of the item. Right, so if I do this real quickly, we're going to, and then go off. Right, so it's going to be about a 50-second burn on estimate. That gave us enough to estimate the amount of burn required. So at 25 seconds to point, we will give it maximum, and then we'll keep an eye on our periapsis. So basically it's our periapsis we want to be about equal. But this should be a lot better. We'll keep an eye on our fuel, liquid and oxidizer. We'll see it's at 600 meters a second of fuel usage. We'll see, obviously I need to work out what our burn is. We're going to need a fair bit to come back into orbit, or Bob's going to be stuck out here for a while. Oops, I missed my timing. Right, let's give our burn. Then I have to aim this way a bit to make sure our periapsis doesn't go higher. Apoapsis is reducing. Fuel is still looking good. Heading a little bit below the perfect target just to ensure our apoapsis doesn't get too high. Fuel is still good. We're in, should have enough. If we go for a slightly elliptical orbit, that's going to be fine as well. Pushing up my... Stopping there for a second because that's going very elliptical now. So take that out, and we have a little bit of fuel left to be able to adjust this just a bit. Our periapsis is fine there. Let's, our new periapsis, let's just adjust our apoapsis down a little bit. So we'll go for a slightly lower orbit than expected. What's our height at that point? That's 77. That's going to be 200, so we need to do it a little bit before that. So let's see if we can make a maneuver node here, which brings down doesn't bring the periapsis down just too much. That's 79. What's that over there? 152. Okay, let's put this up at the periapsis then. Yeah, let's just do this in 2 burns. Let's actually get rid of this. Let's start again. Right, we're going to have right there, maneuver node, add maneuver, bring this, the apoapsis down. .39 seconds. I don't think we've got 50 seconds of fuel. Oh, estimated burn 3 seconds. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. We want to bring that apoapsis down to about 100. That's fine. Just there. And then we'll bring the if the periapsis is a little low, that's fine. That wasn't a great orbit there. My modifications were not good. In that, the modifications I was making to the maneuver were not adequate. Okay, let's just go up to this next point. Got 5 seconds, just a 5-second burn. Right, 2 seconds before. Let's just get myself in line. There we go. Go. $177. They're 98 and 77. That's good enough for this. Okay. Well, let's do a bit of science now. Now we're in an orbit which is stable. We've got half our fuel left, which means we would easily be able to adjust this slightly lower periapsis height to be land us in without any problem. So that's good. So next, what we need to do is do a little science. So let's first of all start with the science bay. Observe, because we've got a little bit here that says do science. So okay, well, we'll keep the data. It's not really worth too much, but we'll keep it anyway. Goo container. Observe mystery goo. Yeah, it's not really worth very much. Now the main one, two new ones is we've got down here. Let's see, we have the barometric log pressure. That's a new one, 12 science. And we have this log temperature. No, that's already been done. Okay, right, so next it's Bob. Do you want to try going can't do EVAs? Okay, all I can do is a crew report. Okay, well, we did a little science with the barometric, but that's a pity. Hopefully that's enough to be able to fulfill the contract. Where was it? It's get science around Kerbin. Where are we? Did I not take it? Oh, transmit or recover scientific data from space around. Okay, we'll get it when we land. Okay, so Bob is now sitting up there in a nice orbit. Took a little bit to get up there. That launcher was not as good as I would have liked. But he's now at least in a relatively stable orbit. It's not a perfect circle, but it should be good enough for us to be able to rendezvous with our other vessel. In fact, I've got enough fuel available. I may just try and quickly get our periapsis up to closer to our apoapsis. So we might as well just do that, just see if that's a tiny burn. 95, 98, 97, 98. That's good. That will just get us to that. You can see it's less than a second burn on that, which is going to be great. So let's just get us off the map. Let's get us aimed at that point. Get us around. We've got it in 12 minutes. So we might as well circularize this orbit just to make sure it goes where we want. 8 minutes. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take it off. Warp. Right, just reorientate this. Now, I'm not going to give it full burn. I reckon that I can just do it a couple of seconds before it's required and just use a partial burn with a couple on the shift and control just to give this a little bit of a nudge in the right direction. Right, we're pointing at it. Let's just make sure that we speed our time up just a little bit. 10 seconds to go. Yeah, because it's less than a second. So let's give this absolute minimum amount just there. Make sure I'm more doing it by watching the periapsis up here. 86, 87, 88, 89, 90. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's close enough. I think that will be more than close enough, and we still have fuel plenty. We've still got half our fuel left for a deorbit burn, which is perfect. So now all we've got to do is get another vessel. So while Bob is now just going to be up here for a while, so what we do is we go back to the Space Center. Perfect, and we'll just recover that. We might as well while it's there. So obviously now Bob is in flight, and we've got some more recover. Okay, Bob is in flight and shows up in our tracking station, so we can see Bob on his the Launcher 3 RDV. And what we now need to do is create our next ship to test out the tourist module. So I'm going to do that in next episode, and then we're going to send him up there and get this rendezvous. Now this rendezvous at the moment, they only have to get within a fairly short range, so they become effectively visual. They haven't actually got to dock with each other. It's just a visualization of each other to make sure that they can see each other effectively. And that's the only requirement they have, I believe. So we're going to find that out. But yeah, Bob's going to be up there for a little while we're building the next ship. So Bob's not quite stranded in space, but he is alone in space whilst he is waiting for the rest of the. It must be Valentina. It'll be one of the pilots, possibly Valentina, to come up and help rescue him. And we'll see how that goes through and sort of pushes forward. So hopefully, apart from the aborted flight, you enjoyed that. Please leave any notes or comments below. But until next time, have fun.